Hello and welcome back to the KitChat, the official podcast of the Kitroom Collective magazine, the magazine where we talk all things football and fashion. Now, firstly, thank you so much for everyone who watched the first episode and commented on it. We got some really good feedback from it. So, yeah, we're really excited to get started.
Absolutely.
Obviously, last week we started talking about boots, and this week it's about kits. And what better place to start than discussing our very own first kits. And Sid, I'm going to go to you. Firstly, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, man. Thank you very much. Very looking forward to this again. Last week was really enjoyable, so yeah, looking forward to get going again.
Amazing. Taylor, how are you doing, mate?
Oh, fantastic, mate. Glad we can get this filmed. Glad we can crack on with episode 2. And you've prepared very interesting points of discussion, so I'm looking forward to talking about them.
Now, football kits are obviously a really, really special part of the sport. It's a really, really special thing that can hold many, many memories. And that's something that we want to discover today. Now, in terms of first kits, I'm going to start first, just because I think last week it was Sid. My first ever Arsenal kit was actually the 2011-12 Lucas Podolski kit. I got that for my birthday.
Yeah.
And it's the one that, I think it was the 125-year anniversary one. And I got that from... It was actually for my 10th birthday, but my uncle thought I was
Is that the one where
turning
you did
9.
something with the crest?
Yes.
You had like a little
We had like some flowers on
reef almost.
Yeah. That was mine. Sid?
Funny enough, the first kit I owned is the one you are modelling very beautifully right now. It's almost like we planned it. That was my first ever kit I had. I remember getting given it for, I think, it would have been my 6th birthday. So it was the 2008-9 one. I had it in long sleeves. And I had Sydney 6 on the back, because, pretty cool. But I remember
6.
that being my first kit, it was very good on you.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Excellently.
We actually got this at like a little retail, like a retro kit sales. 15 quid bargain. Taylor, what was your first kit, mate?
So my first actual kit I ever owned was a 06-07 Barcelona Ronaldinho kit, which my nan and grandpa, they got me from Barcelona when they went. But the actual first kit I actually owned, I was only 3 when I had that kit, so I can't really count. The actual first kit I owned and I wore consciously was I believe it's the 11-10. The season when Messi scored 90 goals?
Oh, yeah.
That one. I had that kit with Messi on the back, and I don't have it anymore. No idea where it went, but I love that kit so much.
So, Messi, Podolski, Sydney 6.
City car.
What a front three, that
What a
is.
front three. Now, obviously, football shirts have evolved tremendously over the last few decades. I think it's become increasingly personalised, and I think that goes for football fashion more broadly. And I think over the last 10 years or so, guys, I think you'd agree that there's been quite a rapid evolution with regards to certain styles that footballers like to wear. That's very much their own personality. A few of those things, for example, include holes in socks, which personally I don't understand, but I would like to sort of get your views on it because I'm baffled.
Holes in socks. Well, it's... From what I gather, it's I believe it's that they cut holes in socks to relieve pressure on the muscles. I think that is the whole point of it. It's more of a performance enhancement than a stylistic choice. I believe, who does it? Carl Walker does it quite a lot as well.
And does as well.
It does look really stupid, and it does look it's unique in its own sense, but it does look stupid and pretty tacky, but overall, I'm pretty sure it is just to relieve that pressure on your calf muscles, which, it does beg the question of why they're that tight in the first place. Why are socks so tight that you need to cut holes in them to increase the blood flow? You must that's so stupid. Why is that
it seems like a manufacturing issue rather than anything else.
I mean, I've never had an issue when I've been wearing football socks.
Yeah, but then we're not wearing pro ones, are we?
Yeah, well, no, they're exactly. I mean, they can't be that different. They're socks. At the end of the day, they're not going to do anything mental with them. But I think it's fine for pros to do it. The only pet peeve I have is when I see Sunday League and amateur players do it.
Oh, word, yeah.
And it's not even just the socks, the holes in the socks. It's when they cut off the ankle bit and then they wear grip socks beneath, acting like they're pros. And I was like, okay, all right, that's where you draw the line. But I think pros doing it's fine. I just think
Yeah,
Where-
Bukayo
when you go
Saka doing
beyond
it is
that.
okay, but when it's Curtis in Sunday League, then that's
Yeah.
that's
Similar sort of thing, but like it's weird how like very average players or like Sunday League level, possibly like Saturday League and stuff like that. You see a lot of players like adopting pro sort of like trends and like it's become fashionable
natural,
in
I
a sense.
guess,
Yeah,
but-
but I don't get why. Like the cutting holes in socks. There's also it's become extremely fashionable for people at like Sunday League level as well to wear like GoPros, and it's like what I don't know. I just find it a bit like I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me.
I think try
very
hard is the
woke.
word I'm looking for, if I'm being honest. I think it's a little bit like, oh, everyone's doing it, so I'm going to do it. I don't know why I'm
Yeah.
doing it, but I'll do it. And in all honesty, Taylor, I think what you touched on with the tightness of socks, I think that transcends to even kits. If I remember correctly, the Puma kits that Arsenal had in
God.
2014 onwards, they were not
Skin
just
tight,
muscle
yeah.
fit. They were like literally, it
Oh,
was
yeah,
on them.
Christ.
It was so funny that the advertisement you see Giroud just get like.
Yeah, and it was something, it can't have been comfortable. Like,
It's the same
surely.
for those like Castor kits as well. They just didn't like they were extremely tight, so they naturally didn't work well with water either. So like I think there's one. I think Arsenal played in those kits away at like Stoke, and it was raining. Of course it was,
Yeah.
and like they just looked so like uncomfortable. And it's the same for those Castor kits that Villa had, which just fell apart.
Yeah.
They were like so terrible in terms of like how they absorbed water, but it would just like mold to your skin, which just isn't like comfortable, and ultimately leads to like chafing and things on like
Yeah.
your body, which is awful.
Yeah, John McGinn looked like he went swimming or something.
That's that image,
He was
isn't
the
it?
main
And it's
one.
literally he's just drenched. It's not even like sweat. He's just drenched in water, and it looks like so uncomfortable
But
to me.
I think luckily those slim fit sort of kits are 10 years. They've been and gone, I think.
That's kind of what I wanted to touch on,
Yeah.
because obviously the shirts, if you're looking from sort of anywhere before that sort of, the really muscle fit trends came in, they were all typically quite baggy fits.
Yeah.
And that's something that's being reintegrated
for sure.
into the modern kits, which you're getting the sort of retro touches into every sort of kit that we're getting these days. So in terms of the evolution of sort of baggy fits, of course, fashion is a cycle, and things will, be popular,
Yeah,
things
of
will
course.
die out. Do you think that the sort of baggy fits, the almost retro style that's returned now, is here to stay, or is this another wave of a fashion trend?
I think it's still not to the extent as what it was. Obviously, just to enhance performance, you can't have a completely baggy fit because obviously air, whatever. I don't know what the scientific word for it is, but like if you run.
Well, it's aerodynamics.
Yeah, that's
Aerodynamics,
right,
yeah.
aerodynamics. So I don't think we'll get to the complete extent of what we used to have, but the skin tight ones just look stupid. So I think gradually it's become a bit more baggy, and even just like fashion in general has become more baggy. So it makes its way onto the pitch. But you think of something like 1998 up to like 2005, those sort of kits were quite baggy. So I don't think we'll get to that extent, but we'll probably make it some way back to near enough it.
Now, another aspect of kit trends I wanted to speak about are some of the ones that have kind of died out a little bit. Let's get a bit of nostalgia going once more. Players wearing short sleeves with gloves. Now, personally, I think it looks cool, but feel free to
Cameraman's
disagree.
looking very disgusted at the sight of that.
I mean, it looks stupid because it is counterintuitive, but I can think of who did it. Martial did it quite a lot.
Martial did it
But he-
last. Martial will win.
Martial did it in
He's-
July.
He was
Yeah.
awful for it. Was that Almiron? I swear Almiron did it.
Papi
in his-
Cisse was kind of the main
patch
one that
Done it
I
a few
think of.
times.
Some of them look cool, but I think that's based on the actual player they are. Like, if you're someone really, really good doing it, it's fine. It becomes like an aesthetic almost associated with that player. It's like hand tape, for instance. It's like you get those Instagrams of like, Henri, long sleeves, black gloves, you knew it was over. And it's like, I think it is just like, if the player's that good, it can become synonymous and iconic with that footballer. But if everyone starts doing it, and I know all these footballers must think they're amazing, and they obviously are, but like not to the same level as Henri. But if every footballer like thinks that mentality or has that mentality, then it kind of like just detracts from it a bit, and it does look stupid.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, if like Almiron, who great like 19 games of a season, like starts wearing like gloves and short sleeves, and then like just doesn't do anything. He just does look an idiot. He just does look an idiot.
It's a little bit like the cameraman's actually put on an excellent one. Aguero at Man City. He's not Almiron, but because it's Aguero, you know, he scored minimum 20 goals a season in the league. Like nobody cared. Nobody cared what he was wearing. That R9 trim. Nobody talks about how bad. Nobody thinks about how bad that R9 trim is, because it's R9. You know, because it's R9, and as you say, Taylor, it's become synonymous. And to what extent do you guys, in that case, think that, you know, the fashion choices of a footballer, how we perceive it depends
100%.
on how well they play?
Yeah, no, easily. I mean, it's even going to like more like tabloid newspaper narratives. Like, if certain footballers do something and they're performing badly, it's going to get like. You can think of like, I remember Rashford, I think it might have been the Europa League final when they lost it. I can't remember what he did, but an everyday activity gets blown out of proportion. It's that sort of thing. If you play well and you look good doing it, you get away with it. But
yeah, that's very true.
It does have a big impact on it for sure.
I think that goes for expression off the pitch as well, though, because Hector Bellerin, for example, I want to touch on, because he was a very fashionable footballer, and when he was playing really well, nobody batted an eye.
Yeah, I didn't even like when he was playing well for us was about 2014, 15,
14 up until about 16, roughly. Yeah,
we didn't even know about like his fashion sense.
Exactly.
Up until that
it was
point,
only
like,
when his performance started to sort of
dip a little bit
that suddenly people started talking about focus on the football, Hector.
Yeah, I think it's so like contextual as well. Like, of course, if you're playing terribly and ultimately you have this wacky, zany like style and these boot endorsement deals, then ultimately you are going to be perceived just stupidly. Like, particularly with British media as well, you get focused on so relentlessly. Like Paul Pogba, for instance, is a great like example of that sort of like expressionate side, with his haircuts, with his boots, with the styles he had. And we've discussed this on other podcasts before, but he just didn't, in my opinion, just didn't live up to it, particularly with a price tag and then the style that he emulated. And the British media really hammered home that. But then there's players that you look at as well as that who have these wacky, zany, stylistic choices. Like we touched upon it yesterday, but Hamsik at Napoli, he had the coolest like aesthetic, the mohawk, the gloves, playing for Napoli. And he was so cool and so good. Raja Nainggolan as well. They had the Arturo Vidal, really like specific.
You like your mohawks, don't you?
Yeah, but like they're really like. I mean, objectively, like from my opinion, I think they're absolutely awful trims. Yeah. But these players have gone down as being like, oh, he was quite cool, wasn't he? Because he had a really out there haircut, performed unreal on the pitch for very niche clubs or even some of Europe's like biggest clubs. And ultimately, like, it's reflected on more fondly, and I think a lot of that does have to do with the media.
I guess you don't really know to the full extent what it's like because we're not there.
That's true.
So,
that's true. But the Italian media could be awful for all I'm aware, but like,
I think that's a general thing with footballers that are expression on the pitch. They tend to reflect that off the pitch a lot of the times as well. And I think the best examples are the ones that you've mentioned, Taylor. You've got the another one I wanted to talk about was, Djibril Cissé had some incredible haircuts.
Did you see what he did yesterday?
No?
It was his testimonial match at Auxerre, and he DJ'd himself at half time or something like that.
That's sick.
Yeah.
I forgot he's doing all that now.
It's mental.
And I think that is such a beautiful evolution of the game, that players are able to express themselves through fashion, and fashion isn't just kits. It's about what you wear, it's about your haircut, it's about the boots that you wear, different colorways.
Well, what do you think about it? Do you think it depends on how you perform on the pitch, or do you think it's much more than that? Do you think objectively, like, a haircut is awful? Like, I mean, there was that guy last night for Betis, and he came on for, I can't remember who he came on for, but he came on and he had the half and half like haircut. It looked like a squashy. Yeah. It was like
it was compared to lots of people with Tango Ice Blast.
Yeah, Tango Ice Blast.
Gender reveal trim.
Yeah, gender reveal trim's a great shout. But like, what do you think? Is it how you perform on the pitch that makes a trim good? Because there also was like, towards the end of the 2010s, there was also like a frequency in players, particularly Brazilians, going blonde.
Yeah.
And like, everyone had this like opinion of Mbappe as well, where he had pink hair and he never actually like did, which is a weird like mind conception that we all think he had pink hair and he never did. But like, does it depend on how you perform on the pitch?
I think it's a factor for sure. I think if you are a player that's doing something really out there, you've almost put yourself in that position where you are waiting to be scrutinized. Is that your fault? No. But
no, that's true.
It's unfortunately the reality of the game, and I think that's just a pressure that comes with being a professional footballer.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of, to an extent, you get it. Like if your team's doing awful, and you see your 20 million striker who's playing awful coming out of the ground in like a chrome orange Bugatti, it's gonna annoy you somewhat, cause like, especially if they're not trying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of the hate and the scrutiny is unfair, and it is a lot of the time unbalanced into certain players.
I don't know.
Is there a fear of it being sort of thrown out of the game a little bit? Because if you think about it, right, for example, if you've got a player that played for Southampton this season, right, where they've got 12 points, and you're a player who is quite expressive with your fashion, you're quite extravagant as a person, that's your personality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But because you play for Southampton, all of a sudden you've got like, oh, what's he doing? Your team's 20th.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Do you think that will become, a bigger problem further along the line?
I don't think it will. I think it's becoming more and more progressive and less
I suppose so. Yeah,
conservative in that state. Like you see,
yeah.
just like players are more inclined to wear certain clothes, and I think fans on a broader scale will become more receptive to it. So I hope it's becoming more and more progressive in that sense. Like even more and more footballers are starting their own clothing brands.
Yeah.
That's
so
very true.
I'd hope it starting to shift somewut.
Yeah. In my opinion,
I don't know.
There'll be an extent to it that will stay forever.
Yeah.
I don't know
Would you
though,
vote
because
there?
ultimately we as you mentioned before, if your striker's not scoring the goals and you've paid over £50 million, which is also a number that gets thrown about, and like we just kind of like brush it off now. It's become so normalised for millions to be like a normalised number.
Yeah.
And it's like if they perform terribly and aren't scoring the goals, like I mean, you look at Rasmus Højlund, 70 odd, was it 70 million quid they paid for him, and ultimately he's awful. And naturally, if he was more expressionate with his personality type, and he had a wacky haircut or his own signature line of boots, and was leaving Carrington in like one of the nicest cars, like a Lamborghini Aventador, then I would feel naturally inclined to be like, yeah, you are an idiot. Like, at the end of the day, if you're going to be that good at something and be that highly paid, especially to the degree of some of like the Premier League's highest paid footballers, particularly at clubs like Manchester United as well, then you've got to be performing and you've got to perform on the pitch first. So when players come out and they have their own clothing brands and they are putting other stock into other things, which they have every single right to do, but as a supporter and as a consumer of a product, you would just feel disheartened by it, and you would just feel quite let down that they're putting more stock into their haircut than they are on the pitch.
Yeah.
Would you not? Like, surely, like...
I agree to some extent, but I also, the way I've always seen it is, what a player does off the pitch is ultimately not my business.
No, of course.
But I get the point, of especially a match-going fan who's spending, their hard-earned money going to games and, expecting something in return, and, I know a striker has missed 6 big chances. If he's leaving the ground in a massive extravagant car, I would certainly subconsciously feel that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I feel like players should be allowed to express themselves with that regard. I don't think it should be performance-based. I think their personal life, what they do off the pitch, should be entirely separate to what they do on the pitch personally. But I do get your point of...
I do hear that, but if you pay that much money to do that, then ultimately you should be open to that criticism.
Yeah, of course. I don't think we should... Yeah, I definitely think you should be open to criticism, but I think it works both ways. I think the footballers will say, well, look, I've earned this money. I've earned this money. I've got every right to spend it however I want.
It comes
If
back
you
to that
don't like
age-old
it-
conversation of if they're paid too highly, then does it not?
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
Well, that's the conversation for another
It's a separate
day.
thing. It's not
a-
fashion-based, but
yeah.
it does come back to that age-old conversation.
What do you think then, Sid? Do you think it's a personal choice, or do you think fans have had that right to say, well, look,
Like I
what
said,
on earth are you doing?
there's a fine line. Like if you're taking the mick with it, and flaunting it in ways that you shouldn't. Like I remember Les got pocket tweeted.
Oh, yes, I remember that. The
picture of his car.
His car, yeah.
It's obviously invariably.
I do think there's a time and place aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
I think if you're going out of your way to show a certain extravagance, I think that's a problem. Now moving swiftly on
Yeah.
to this next one, which is a little bit more of a flashy one, which is headbands. Now headbands have sort of always been around. You know,
like it.
if you think of the Maldinis, the Nestas, and Puyol would have had some. Ramos wore them.
Ramos
I
definitely
think
had.
personally they are some of the coolest aesthetic fashion accessories that footballers can wear. Personally,
I mean, yeah, I used to have a lot longer hair, and I used to wear the thin
Yeah,
headbands.
I
And
did.
the thin headbands are
Sabitzer.
sick.
I
that.
did as well. Yeah,
I
used to
love
have
the
those.
thin headbands, but when you're going with like the Saint Maximin and Gucci headbands, which you had to put tape on it because you couldn't. It was
Yeah.
marketing, was it? But I think you're going a bit far. But I think it still looks cool.
Yeah, it did,
It depends
didn't
who you
it?
are, because I'd look like an absolute idiot if I wore like a Gucci headband to a game.
but Newcastle fans love St.
Yeah,
Maximin,
yeah,
so I don't
exactly.
think they minded at that point.
It did look cool because it was like, what the hell he's doing that? But yeah, I think it depends on the player again, which like a lot of it does. But the thin headbands especially, I've got a lot of time for. It's like, yeah, like you said, Ramos. I'm just thinking in 2012, like random one like Montalivo for AC Milan. Did Pirlo wear one?
Pirlo definitely did, yeah.
It's like people like.
It's quite a Mediterranean sort of look, but it looks cool.
Yeah, not even just the hairband though, like the old ponytail as well with the hair
Yeah.
bobble. I thought like there's places like Philip Mexes who
Yeah.
like really random shout, but like I don't know, it kind of suits it. It depends on the player as well, but like ultimately I find a lot of players now. I mean, you touch on Saint Maximin, but even like Noni Madueke,
Yeah.
and they have like big chunky ones that go across their head, and whilst it looks all
Elanga does as
right,
well, doesn't he, I think?
it looks all right. I do agree with Sid. I think the thin one is much better. Ultimately, it depends on the player, but like when you start like in marketing, endorsing, like Saint Maximin did, where you have to actually like force it onto your head because it's just so unnatural. At that point, it's just a bit too much, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think for the top of my head, I can't think of too many players that wear one right now.
I think it's becoming more popular now. In
Maybe.
recently,
I mean,
I'd say.
this is from the top of my head. I can't really think
It
of
screams
too many
winger
players.
now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very winger thing.
Screams
I-
winger.
if-
Mudrik's one. I think.
Mudrik, Elanga,
Oh, God, yeah,
Madueke,
Mudryk.
yeah.
Elanga, yeah. But yeah, I can't.
Elanga's a
don't think
great
there's
shout.
Too many. We've gone from Ramos to like Elanga. Like,
Yeah,
there's a bit of a-
that's true. I suppose it does say a lot, that, doesn't it?
There could easily be some like really good players that I'm just not thinking of.
Would
right
you
now,
say
but-
that footballers are more or less expressionate now in terms of their accessories?
I think social media has definitely shifted the tide a little bit towards a more expressionate side. Some players will hide away from it just because of the scrutiny that comes with it. But I think if you were to, on the balance, I'd definitely say it's more expressive. What do you think?
I think it's changed obviously because like a lot of the accessories that just aren't cool, aren't even allowed. Like snoods is one thing.
Oh, snoods are annoying.
Snoods, yeah.
Snoods are stupid.
I don't think that's an accessory. I think that's just like trying to keep warm. But I don't know. Like, yeah, in terms of on the field, I don't think there are. I think there might be less. I don't know because I can't think of like. I think
Well, I'm just kind of like thinking off the top of my head, like certain like styles were very like synonymous and associated with a certain caliber of footballer. I mean, we touch upon Ramos with headbands, but even like Zlatan Ibrahimovic,
Yeah, true.
with his like ponytail at Pirlo, had a hairband at one point and then he
Fabregas
didn't.
did as well, I think. when he was younger,
Fabregas. I mean, it's a very, very like certain demographic and quality of player. Even like as we touched on earlier, it's like short sleeves and gloves. Like Mahrez, Diego Costa, Sergio Aguero. Like it was almost like you could be expressionate if you were that good. Whereas I don't know if everyone it's now. But then I feel like saying that, I feel like everyone who was less than that elite category of player was more expressionate in their own personal style, and then those certain players had their own demographics, whereas now it's a case of everyone's different, but I feel like everyone's less, because I think everything's so tailored and
there's so much
focused
there's so
on
much public
performance.
relation and
I mean,
you know,
you look at
like.
the tiny shin pads that footballers
Yeah,
have as
that's
well.
another one I want to,
It's
yeah.
like everything's focused and tailored to like optimization of the actual athlete's performance, and less on the actual just game and enjoying the game and being expressionate not only with your skill set but yourself. I mean, it links to a greater conversation on like football as a whole and modern football becoming regressive in the sense of it's so robotic and focused on output as opposed to being enjoyable. And I don't know, I just think that maybe it could be a nostalgic sense, being it was my childhood, but
Yeah.
at the same time I still think that maybe it was better what it was than what it is now.
I think when you're seeing Neymar getting a yellow card for doing a rainbow flick, I think that says a lot.
It's like
doesn't it?
standing on the ball in Brazil, like
Yeah.
they've banned it. It's like
I think
it's just going, isn't
yeah,
it?
it is reflecting a little bit on the game in general. I think it's you're right. I'm not gonna just say it's Pep's fault,
Game's
but
gone.
I think game's gone. There is a sort of, you know, everyone's saying there's a homogenous nature of footballers these days where there's wingers that don't dribble anymore. You know, wingers will, you know, run down the touchline, cut back, and
You've
you
got
know,
a fair
put
few at
across
your
in.
football club.
Yeah, head down wingers. I'm not going to say any names. I'm not gonna. Shirts tucked in.
Depends.
Shirts tucked in.
I think it looks.
I think you look like a bit of a
Yeah, I
nerd.
don't think it looks great.
If I'm being
actually,
honest.
like
I think you do. Sorry, Charlie.
I don't think
I
it
could
looks-
disagree
Sorry,
on
cameraman.
this.
I think
Like,
you do. I think you look like a
I think
nerd.
you look like a bit of an idiot sometimes.
Nah.
I mean, it looks like you're trying to be smart. I get it, but I'm not the
Not
biggest
a fan.
fan. I didn't do it personally ever. So
No, I never did either. It wasn't my style though, and I don't think I suited it. But then players like Rodri do. Like I can't imagine Rodri being like having his kit untucked now.
I just think it's Tierney.
So do I. I
Yeah.
think Tierney as well with the Tesco bag and
Yeah.
everything. I think
They
there are
looked
some
alright.
players. Yeah,
Well,
I think there's some
those
players.
two
who
players
you can-
they are like the absolute antithesis of like a fashionable footballer. Like,
Yeah,
they
true.
are just like football. Don't care about the
But
commercial
then
side of
it's
it.
very like associated with a much older brand of football than what we were alive to see. Like I don't know about you, but I have it so culturally associated with like before the 80s or even during like the 80s, that like era of football. I have it so synonymous with like that sort of generation or that group of footballers just prior to like 1980s and 1990s, where I think everything kind of became much more marketing focused and expressionate in their styles. I mean, you look at R9 in that era of the 90s being, you know, pioneering the mercurials. And then before that, can you really think of any footballers that are really that expressionate other than maybe like Maradona?
No.
But like, I don't know. I either have it associated with players who are a lot older or players who are like 16 on your career mode on FIFA.
Yeah.
They're the only people I have it synonymous with.
So do you associate do you think a reason why you may be in favour of things like, you know, the thinner headbands or the shirts tucked in, etc., is it because it represents to you a time in which you think football was that little bit more expression, was that little bit more fun to watch? Is there a little bit of association with what you think was better than what it is now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the same time, it's a case of like, you know, I probably look at it more fondly because I was a lot younger. But I other than watching my own football club, I had much more anticipation and much more excitement about watching like neutral football games.
Yeah.
Like, if I were to turn on the telly and like even when like, oh god, we're going back when like Champions League was on ITV.
Yeah.
And like you turn on the TV on a random like Wednesday UCL night and see like Chelsea away at Atletico Madrid or something, and it's like you've got players like Falcao, Courtois,
Fernando
Torres playing. You've got Essiens and John Obi Mikel, weird one, John Obi Mikel, John Terry. Like there's so many players that even like they're gone now. At the same time, you just look back and you think they were all individuals, they were all expressionate. And I don't know, maybe it is a case of me looking back at things and thinking, yeah, that was my childhood. That's why I look at it the way I do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do link it to the wider conversation about football.
I think no, it's a lot of it is on nostalgia, to be fair. Because even like retro kits, if this kit was released now, would it have as much hype? Probably not.
Yeah, it links to like a greater trend of like manufacturers copying old kits and replicating them. It really is just a marketing stunt, ultimately.
I think as a generation, we're really nostalgia heavy, aren't we?
Well,
we do like to look back at the
I do,
past.
I think that's only come in like the last few years, though. Really. From
Yeah,
what I can
and do you not think that
that's
kit
from what's
manufacturers
going
have
on.
noticed this? Kit manufacturers have noticed
easily.
this and said, do you know what? Fans are dying for what used to be.
I mean, you look
so
at-
why don't we bring it back?
I mean, you look at Arsenal. They release about 50,000 kit releases, different kits each year. Just if you want to look at it in a cynical way, it definitely is. It is just to sell kits and make money. But
Well, it was like
I mean, most fans
yeah.
most fans do lap it up. A lot of them do, and you see when like each new kit's released, there's always like a sort of like I guess
some sort of campaign
justification
yeah.
and like reasoning behind it. Like
Yeah.
they say, this is based off the 1980s kit. I was like, it's not
which is
really,
like
it's-
25 years
it's tiny.
since or
It's
whatever.
it's like a tiny bit linked to it, but yeah,
It's not really,
It
is
is
it?
definitely yeah.
I think it's that, but also football clubs are embracing their cultural heritage a lot more, I think.
But isn't it
nowadays
like
as well.
that's a really good. This is links very heavily to what I'm about to say. But like, do you think there's like an over release of kits? Do you think it's become too consumerist? Football as a whole. Like, I mean, I was talking to our housemate yesterday, Ed, and he was saying that in like I believe it was 2021, Napoli released like 36 kits, and a lot of them were commemorative of obviously Maradona's death.
Yeah.
And is that not? Has football not become too consumerist in the sense of we're taking fashion and just overdoing it and really playing on the fact that there are people there but will go, oh yeah, that was linked to 2005 where Liverpool, like the Istanbul comeback, oh, I'm going to release this as like the general template, and that's what Adidas are doing for like a lot of their kits this season. Like, is that not, are we just not too consumerist as a collective, as a society now where we just have that nostalgia and we can play into that?
I think it's increasingly commercialized, of course. I think football as a business has grown, and kits has been, a kind of at the forefront of it almost, which kind of makes me sometimes question these kind of, PR marketing strategies of, for example, when Madrid released the kit with ocean waste or something like that in 2019, the red one where it was used completely with recycled plastic or something like that. These are nice, but how much of this is a genuine incentive and how much of it is, look, there's an opportunity where there's a real attention,
Good PR, isn't it?
where
It
there's
is
real good, there's so much focus on environmental issues, there's so much focus on the ethics. How much of what football kit manufacturers are considering is ethics, and how much of it is a case of, is this making us look good?
Well, we can't say because we're not there, but from the outside looking in, it does seem like it's just a PR stunt at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Even if like you're doing it, you don't have to say it. You could just like do it. You don't have to like market it as 100% recycled kit. But yeah, I think we can't fully say because we're not in it. But
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it feels a little bit like people are kind of just, using these kits to drive their own income rather than actual, sort of good for the game personally. But,
no, you're
that-
spot on.
that's
Yeah,
just me.
I
But I
agree
think
with
that's
that.
just a general sort of PR nature of what football's become.
It's become a business, hasn't it?
It's become a business, and I think that's reflecting on the pitch and also off the pitch.
Yeah, fashion is a great reflection of football, really,
Yeah.
when you look at it, which is the whole point of our magazine, but it is a really good reflection of it.
Now, before we ended this, right, I wanted to speak on one thing particularly that is really, really grinds my gear, right?
Go on.
Which is
my gears.
it really does my head in, which is players having their first name on the back of their kits. I'm sorry, but
Right.
Come on, man.
Hold on, I've got to call you out because you had Ruhan on the back of your not older kit,
I know.
which isn't your
However,
first name,
I
but at the
know.
same time, it's not your
I'm not
last name
professional
either.
football. Do you know what it is? I think. do you know
Even
what?
worse, because we were touching on this earlier. You're a professional
True.
footballer.
I know.
You're not-
I know. Look,
Come
the way I see
on.
it, look, Taylor. Look, the way I see it is, like you say, I'm not a professional footballer, but there is a little bit of like,
Consistency.
oh, I liked the. We touched on it. The nostalgia. Does it woke nonsense? Yeah, I know. I
Utter
agree.
woke.
It's
nonsense.
woke nonsense. But I just think footballers, it is the nostalgia bias. I think that's clouding my head a little bit. I do think it's a nostalgia bias clouding my head a little bit. But I think the last name.
I raised to you then Brazilians, and particularly South American footballers, because
Yeah.
their
That's a different
full
culture,
names
sort of.
and their last names are not what they have on the back of their kit. Neymar's name is Neymar dos Santos Silva something Junior.
Yeah.
Should he not have like his actual surname
I mean,
on the back?
it's a different culture.
Yeah, that's
It
the
is,
only
but
thing.
surely if that's the conversation we're having,
I mean, I don't mind it. Like 99% of the things we discuss, it depends on the player. Like Virgil looks sick. It just does, doesn't it? Like I think Virgil looks sick on the back of a kit.
yeah, it does. I like that.
99% depends on the player. Like I'm trying to think of players that look stupid with it.
Do you know what? I think my judgment has been clouded. I can't name many players at the minute off the top of my head, but I've seen so many just bang average, bog standard, ready salted footballers.
Ravel Morrison's the one.
But Dele
I think.
Alli had it
Go
as a
in.
tribute,
He
though,
was
wasn't it?
good though for a while. So
And I was thinking, God, mate, you are such a just put your surname there.
It was a tribute,
Don't be
wasn't it?
different.
I've got a random one that I was looking at the other day.
Sure.
That had the first name on the back. Clinton and G at Tottenham. He had
It's
Clinton
that
on the
sort
back.
of stuff that I'm talking about. Where
It
it's
does
Hey, you need
undermine
to
it.
touch
It does
grass.
undermine it.
that's
Touch
what
grass.
that's more so what I'm talking about. Of course, I think the Brazilian ones. I think Brazil. If I'm being honest, I think Brazil is almost a separate entity within football.
I mean,
Yeah,
even
true.
Do you know what I mean?
Alexis.
Alexis, yeah. Again, like I said,
It's that
depends
South
on the
American
footballers.
like culture though, but surely as like, I mean, you're taking a very football purist, football traditionalist stance. Surely it should be their surname
Yeah.
and Ruhan, but even then, it's a case of like, surely it should be like Dos Santos or whatever it is, like Ferreira or Silva, that should be on the back of your kit. It
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah.
If we're going down that stance of like taking away expression, and that is a form of expression, isn't it?
Yeah, I
whatever
suppose.
name you want on it, like.
Yeah.
I've never envisioned a kit that I've had without the name Jones on it. If I had like Taylor on it, it looks stupid. Although
Yeah.
Taylor is a surname,
Yeah, if
but
I
at the
had
same point,
Ruhan
it's
on it,
not
that'd be
my
stupid, yeah.
surname. Is the thing. It'd look an idiot,
Yeah.
but
I know.
it's cultural.
Yeah,
As Sid's right, it's cultural.
It is cultural, but I think look, I'll take back what I said at the start, which is it annoys me. It annoys me when certain footballers do this, where it's like
Like who?
like the Clinton and G's. Like,
Memphis Depay. I think he's on the line.
no,
there.
I don't think Depay. Just be Depay. You've not done anything. I'm sorry. Do you know what I mean?
What
But-
are your opinions? A very off topic, but you mention Memphis Depay. What are your thoughts on football tattoos, particularly certain tattoos like Memphis Depay? His kind of like aesthetic of like that massive lion on the back of his back is so cool. But what do you think of footballers being expressionate with tattoos? Do you think
I think
it's
that's totally
the
fine.
same as
I-
any profession?
I think that's entirely individualistic. Like, do you know there's certain things where we talk about, as a football fan, that would annoy me. For example, the cars, the fashion, or the hair, etc. I think the Garnacho, Garnacho.
That's true.
my word.
He's got a prison break tattoo.
Garnacho prison mates.
Is it?
Unbelievable.
Oh, I need to see this. I don't think I've seen this.
Yeah. So about what I said about it's entirely individualistic.
Yeah, that'll
There are certain bad tattoos. I'm not.
Oh my god, it's a Google search. Oh my god.
Oh wow.
Where is it? Is that one?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's horrendous.
There were
Really?
person. Yeah, our cameraman
That's
has seen
absolutely
Garnacho live.
disgraceful.
Well, I changed my mind. Yeah, tattoos are definitely an important factor.
Get
I
'em
changed my mind. Yeah, get them gone. Oh my word.
That's shocking.
Well, good shout from the cameraman. Because before I was like, do you know what? Tattoos.
The tiger's cool.
Tattoos are just.
Some of Ben White's are questionable.
Yeah. But because
he's gone quite Harry Styles with some of his on like his chest and stuff. But yeah,
Harry Styles is.
Oh,
definitely-
I'm gonna sound really like, I don't know. I'm gonna sound very like grumpy when I say this, but like, I think the footballer aesthetic, I think it's really changed over the last sort of 10 years. I think footballers have become way more flamboyant.
Yeah, of
in
course.
like their expression and how they express themselves. Like Ben White, Garnacho's another great example of the point I'm trying to like make. But like, they've become way too more like prima donna-y and modelly as opposed to like
He's a bit of a
footballers.
diva, innit?
Which,
Yeah.
and I know that like ultimately footballers and models like they do intertwine quite well. Like Jude Bellingham, Cristiano Ronaldo, for instance, like massive modelling careers. David Beckham's a great shout, even though Yvonne hates it. Like great like exemplars of models and football and fashion intertwining so heavily. Justifies the point of our magazine, but at the same time, it's like I think it's become more prima donna-y now. Garnacho's a great shout. the earrings and stuff like that. I'm just not a big fan. I just don't like it. I just don't think my footballer that plays for my club should really like have that.
Yeah. Sancho Simpson.
I don't know.
tattoo.
It sounds horrible, but like at the same time,
That's another one. Again, I think it comes back to the one point. How are you
just what
performing on the pitch as
just
well?
what my
think
personal
it's-
preference
it's-
as well.
Yeah. How are you performing on
What
the
we
pitch?
concluded is depends on the player. It depends how you play.
It depends entirely on the player.
Effectively,
A
yeah.
footballer's fashion depends entirely on the player. If it's bad, it can be turned good if they play well. And
Just to like pioneer a new topic or push a new topic as well. What do you think? Which clubs do you like look at and think are really stylish, which aren't conventional? And I'm basically content plugging. But Sid, you did a piece on the collaboration between Real Racing Club and Pompeii and their fashion campaign. I would have never ever from those like also like promo press releases and stuff and the provided images by it's Real Santander, isn't it? Real Santander?
Yeah, Real Racing.
Yeah. But those provided, like, they're so cool. They look so amazing and so sleek. I would have never associated a club like that with that.
But I think,
So are there any clubs that you...
No, I mean, there's loads of
take you
clubs
by
that are becoming
surprise?
more and more for hipsters' choice. Like even Real Racing Club in themselves have become that. A lot of teams marketing teams are becoming a lot more tapped in. I think. I think you can just through your kits you become a real hipster choice. Like Venezia, are probably the prime example.
Also did a piece on them.
Yeah. Venezia are probably the prime example. But there's so many clubs across the seas like that just have so many like cool kits and collaborations with like even like Anderlecht have like a really cool collab with Art. I think it's Art Antwerp. There's just so like obviously like the big clubs are doing it with like bigger brands, but
Yeah.
I prefer a lot of the smaller ones with the sort of
I do like
more
those ones a
niche,
lot.
yeah.
I really do like them.
But I think
there's also an environmental thing as well, with forest
like
green being another.
doing-
I think
Go on,
Arsenal were
sorry.
probably the most tapped in with it. Like
The Stella McCartney stuff's amazing.
Maharishi, I think it's 424, the American
AC Milan are
brands.
another one with Off-White as well. They've also got like Balenciaga doing stuff with them now as well. But like we're doing a piece, or I'm going to do a piece when he gets back to me with Como about their fourth kit, and it's like I really like mainly foreign clubs as well, but specifically Italian, where fashion is so integrated into their culture. I love when a small club tries to create this hipster like sort of aesthetic and that like leaning into the fashion side of things. I think it's so cool. Like Real Racing Club's a great example. Como, even like I mean we've mentioned it a few times. Is it like Dulwich Hamlets as well that you've mentioned a few times?
Yeah, Dulwich Hamlets. I think they're more like their fan base, but they're pretty tapped in. Hackney Wick are probably the most.
Hackney Wick, that's
in
another one.
non-league. Yeah, it's growing everywhere. To be fair,
I think the conclusion we can draw from that is that we would love clubs to embrace that about them. You know, they've got their city
Especially
where
smaller
they're
clubs.
from.
Take a risk.
Take a risk, yeah, exactly. What's the worst that can happen? You make an ugly kit, boohoo, that happens. Do you know
Well,
what
yeah,
I mean?
there's so many clubs
There's
with
plenty
ugly
of them.
kits.
like even Arsenal's new kit, well, not new, this season's kit. You know, the away kit, the Lynx Africa kit.
Yeah.
Was,
It's alright,
Was
it's
with
okay.
it was with Labrin London, who were like a Pan-African fashion brand within London, and to be fair, it wasn't even marketed with them as such because I didn't even know that until I did some research, and they ended up doing like a sort of fashion catwalk fashion show at the Emirates with like Calafiori and Saka and stuff. So I think as a broader topic is what our magazine is about. Obviously, the two will come integrated more and more. But
absolutely.
a lot of the fashion collaborations have been just sick, and even if it's a way to sell shirts, it does look cool doing it. So.
Yeah, very, very true.
Now,
Very
a
true.
lot of the sort of the collaborations and the integrations between football and fashion we've discussed here are just a few of the many, many examples that are there. And as for the rest of the examples, well, you can read about them on the website. Now, before we do go, I just want to say a massive shout out once again to the Fox and Duck for hosting
big
us.
thank you.
So if you're in Broom Hill, in Sheffield, be sure to check them out. Thank you so much, guys, for
you,
watching.
guys.
And be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Yes,
And
please.
Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode.